I just don't understand. Every time I try and teach a new concept to these incompetent students, it just goes straight over their heads. I wish there was some way that I could make them understand. Oh, Learning Genie, if you do exist out there, please help me.
Behold, I'm Mark, the Learning Genie.
Wow, you really do exist!
If you want your students to learn the content, you need to make sure they're integrating novel concepts with what they already know.
Why is that?
Well, your students likely felt bombarded by all the information you were trying to teach them, and their brain just couldn't process it all. According to cognitive load theory, if you give your students lots and lots of new information to learn all at once, this will overload their working memory, possibly to the point where their brains will explode. Well, not really, but they'll certainly struggle to learn anything new. Instead, you have to know what your students already know about the topics you want to teach so that it can be used to leverage understanding of new material. Once you know what kind of knowledge structures people have in their brains already, you'll be able to present the new stuff in a way that is easy for them to learn and store. For example, before you dive into deep knowledge, like abstract underlying principles, you need to cover the shallow knowledge first, like facts and basic definitions of terms.
Okay, that makes sense, but how can I actually design my training to make sure my students are learning things in the context of what they already know?
Well, I believe that I have 3 strategies that will save your life.
Amazing, so what are they?
Follow me and I'll tell you all about it. Right, so I understand that you want your students to become mega genius experts and get lots of 7s, but that won't happen straight away. Therefore, the first strategy is to use an incremental approach, whereby you gradually build from easy to harder material. That way, your students will be able to understand any complex content, especially that nitty-gritty linear regression. After all, it is math.
How did you know that my students were struggling with understanding linear regression?
I'm the Learning Genie. I know everything.
True that. So instead of teaching the entire concept of linear regression right off the bat, I could explain it in 3 parts. First, I could recap the concepts of correlations because I already know that my students have the knowledge and understanding of correlations down pat. Next, I could explain how linear regression is similar to correlations and that they both demonstrate a relationship between an IV and a DV. Finally, I could explain how linear regression is different to correlations, like how different coefficients are used to denote the relationship between the IV and the DV.
Exactly. Nice one, tutor.
Why, thank you, Mark. So what are the second and third strategies that ensure my students are learning things in the context of what they already know?
The second strategy is to provide multiple familiar concrete examples that can be compared to help extract the underlying principles of complex content.
What a great idea! So to teach my students about regression, I could show them some examples of how regressions have been used to answer real-world questions. That way, my students can see how the underlying principles of regression generalize to different situations.
Fantastic! You're really getting the hang of this. The third and final strategy is to get students to generate their own questions about the content they've just learned. This has been shown to help people understand complex information, and it is especially helpful if students are encouraged to make links between their previous knowledge and the new, more complex information they have just been taught. This might also provide insight as to your students' current level of understanding, and therefore how you might introduce even more complex information in the future.
Ah, I see. Perhaps I could assign weekly homework to students where they are asked to create questions based on the previous week's lecture content.
Nice one! Brilliant! Congratulations! You're now on your way to becoming a true master in the art of improving human performance.
Wow, thanks Mark. You've really saved my bacon. I'll be a learning genie like you in no time.